Om Vasudev Sutam Devam Kansachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om. Adorations to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe, destroyer of the forces of darkness, and bestower of immortality. Srimad Bhagavad Gita in chapter 4, verse number 14. Gita is leading you to understand the art of performing action, karma yoga. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha iti mam yo bhijanati karma bhirna sabadhyate. Actions do not affect me, Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna. Lord Krishna is representing God, the creator, the sustainer, the destroyer of the world process. He is Avatara, who is fully identified with the Absolute. And as such, he is imparting knowledge, wisdom to Arjuna from a very broad point of view. That setting exists in every heart. God within you is absolute, unchanging, immutable. The individual soul in you is constantly jumping from one branch to another. We remember the Upanishadic imagery of a tree. In that tree there are two birds. One bird simply sits. Tree is full of blossoms, full of berry type of lots of fruits. And there is another bird that ignores the sitting bird and busy pecking on those fruits. Rather happy the other bird is got it inside. And how much to pick? This bird has enormous capacity to eat. And is always looking for tastier, sweet and bitter fruits. And the desire for eating never ends. Having eaten like 12 sweet fruits, the bird moves on to the 13th. And then it happens to be not as sweet. Well, you don't end up your feast with a sour taste. So you pick on the other. And this never stops. That means experience of pleasure and pain. Soul within you is that bird, ever busy. But this soul is nothing but the reflection of the divine self, an appearance, a magical expression. And the entire tree is magic show. Entire setup of human reality is a magic show. You live in a magical world that you never know what it is. And the biggest of scientists don't know. That's why they're looking for every day. Research goes on. And you are not aware of who am I. The I in you is elusive, just like in dream. The dream subject goes on experiencing pleasure and pain in a world that is completely illusory. And whatever experience you have has no substance in it. Threefold illusion called triad. So, the goal before the soul is to move away from eating all these bitter and sweet fruits and focus the attention on the bird that doesn't eat. And having focused the attention to realize I am that bird. This me is only a reflection. Once that becomes settled, the magic breaks. There is no tree, no bird, no second bird. The one bird, the absolute, remains. Keeping that simile before your mind, listen to what Krishna is saying. Krishna is representing that bird. But now this bird is little different from the bird of the allegorical setting. Krishna bird is busy doing also. Krishna is active. But what he is saying is, actions do not affect me. While he's saying me, he is referring to Ishvara, God. Imagine, using your mind in a very ordinary way, actions of God. The entire universe is so elusive, vast. Countless shining suns blaze in the sky. Millions of light years become nothing in the vastness of space. And yet, there is not a particle of the universe that is not permeated by God's presence. His hand reaches out everywhere. Not a single soul is given any experience that is out of order. Because he is all-knowing. If you are just all-knowing, you will be in big trouble. Suppose you know all the troubles of the world, all knowing, your mind will explode. But he is not only all-knowing, he is omnipotent. He knows the remedy. He knows purpose behind all things. And his knowledge of creation, that knowledge is unfailing. Now you can understand and compare yourself with God. You are Grish, lord of the house. Okay. And creating a world. God is Jagadish. The entire universe is the Lord of the universe. And you are Lord of a little house. The Lord of a little house, imagine how many worries and anxieties enter your mind. Imagine a house where parents, some children, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, and some friends, pets, animals, all that constitute a good setting. And you are the chief of that house. And imagine what type of mind has to handle all this, the money in the bank, health matters, relational matters, so many matters. And no one has that all knowledge and all power. So many things you know but can't do anything about. Human being with all that stress in the mind because things that you owe, things that you own, you have to take care of them. God owns the entire universe, takes care of them. And he is so relaxed, he just sleeps. A human being tries to use his foxy intellect, creates most velvety beds to sleep on, with all scientific advancement. In spite of all that, profound sleep doesn't enter the mind. But the Lord Vishnu sleeps on a big snake. The body is velvety, with 1,000 hoods, millions of problems, trillions and trillions of problems brooding over his personality of God. In the midst of all, he enjoys absolute rest. That's the description of God. So his restfulness is not dependent upon stopping all his work. All his work goes on, perfect detail. And in no way is he affected by all this. Creation, sustenance, dissolution. The world goes on. Things are being created. They are sustained. They come to an end. And there is no end to this process. That's the subtle ideal of Karma Yoga. What do you understand? What inspiration do you get from that setting? The core of the universe, there is that divine plan, divine structure, mystically speaking, that you can stay absolutely relaxed. And the more relaxed you are, greater is your creativity. Lord Vishnu, he relaxes. And creation goes on flourishing. And there is no contradiction. Lord Vishnu doesn't say, when will this world finish? And I don't have to do anything with it. To put it in a more practical way, think of the sky and the clouds. The sky does not wait for clouds to move away to feel relaxed. Give me space. Whether the clouds are there or are not there, the sky takes care of all the clouds, give them a space, give them complete freedom of speech. Some clouds thunder, some clouds soft. Freedom of expression, absolute freedom. And the sky remains untouched. That's the divine setting behind this whole universe. That setting has to be brought within your own personality, because you are a miniature universe. Macrocosm, microcosm. When we talk of universe, we are talking macrocosm. And look at yourself, you are a microcosm. In the microcosm state, same God is your innermost reality, the indwelling self. And he is the controller, sustainer, manager of your entire personality from the toes to the head. You don't have to believe in it. Look into any science book, any medical description of the body, and see how many things are done within the body from the toes to the head. Just the body. But what about the nervous system? So what about the mind? What about your unconscious? All these are immense dimensions. All this is being sustained, managed by the divine within you. So God is there, sustaining you. But as a soul in a state of bondage, not having the awareness, I am a ray of God, or I am the God absolutely, from a highest point of view, not knowing that, individual soul is caught by illusion. The soul itself, understanding it from philosophical point of view, is like sun reflecting in a jar of water. Look into the jar of water, you are seeing the reflected sun. The reflected sun is constantly in trouble, extremely limited, fragile. But nevertheless, it is essentially the sun. Therefore, no matter how limited you feel yourself, essentially you are the divine self, absolute. The sun that reflects, in order to discover its essential nature, certain stages have to scale, pass through. That is, water should be clear, then reflection will shine brighter. Water should be calm, relaxed. Reflection will be much more in tune with the sun. Water should gradually evaporate, and reflection should be blended with the absolute. Okay, I will not go too wide, but the message now is that considering the way the whole world has been planned by God, action is never to be looked down upon. Action should never be viewed as something useless. When you have all the possibility to sleep, then why should you act? But Lord Vishnu shows you can sleep better while performing all your actions. Giving allegorical statement. Actions do not affect me, nor I am desirous of fruits of action. Fruits of action relate to jati, ayu, and bhoga. Jati, what type, what class, what family will be born into? Human family, animal family, bird family, fish family. Or even among human beings, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, what type of society, what type of culture you are going to be drawn into. It is led by your karmas. So fruits of karma is jati, birth, ayu, how long you live. And bhoga, experiences of pleasure and pain. This does not apply to God. This applies only to the unenlightened soul. Unenlightened soul is like a reflected sun in a jar. To that reflected sun, all this applies. The type of bucket to get into, type of water, type of companions, fishes and frogs. I'm making joke, but to understand. Soul's point of view, jati is important. Also important how long you live. Important your bhoga, your enjoyments. The enjoyment term simply means fruits of karma, pleasure and pain. He who knows me thus is not bound by karmas. To know me thus is a profound point. God who is within your heart, untouched by karmas, you are a reflection, a ray of that God. Always remember the threefold attitude. As Hanuman explains that to Rama. Rama asks Hanuman, his great devotee, how am I related to you? Hanuman says, Deha buddhyatu dasoham. To the extent I view myself as body, I am a slave, you are the master. Jiva buddhyatu danshaka. To the extent I view myself as a soul reflecting in the mind, I am like a ray, you are like the sun. Therefore, I can express all the divine qualities. I can grow in your image. And from the absolute point of view, I and you are one. Ham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Keeping that in view. So whoever knows me thus, if you begin to know the I am in a profound way, you will not be bound by actions, karma. Now, therefore, certain points arise out of this. The general idea among the masses, being too much involved in action keeps you in a mud puddle. Therefore, renounce. So there is order. To enter into sannyasa, order. There's nothing wrong about it. That's perfectly a high, tremendous, great tradition. And I'm not focused on that at this stage. But the idea here is the error that arises in the mind of a person, that if life is too busy, you cannot enjoy freedom. In order to enjoy freedom, cut down all your busy and busyness. Action and inaction. Action literally, busy, body, mind, intellect, everything, busy. Inaction, completely lying on the bed, absolutely free. General examples. People choose between the two, stay grihastha or go into the ashram and cut down all activity. Karma and akarma. Both these concepts are wrong. What is right is to understand the difference between ego-impelled karmas and ego-diminishing karmas. Ahamkar predi and ahamkar less. Karmas that are led by your increasing inflated ego. Those karmas will bring in all that is negative. They will bring in stress, frustration, diminishing of your inner energy, strength of faith. That will make you internally blind. From a mystical point of view, you will not have subtle understanding. Focused on karma phala, fruits of karma, allowing your ego to become more and more inflated. That seems the normality of life all over the world. That's what people brag about. How poor was I? How prosperous have I become? Etc. etc. From a spiritual point of view, that's a shallow description. If your ego has become more intense within you, deep down you are not experiencing inner joy. You are not expressing the certain qualities that make you like a flower, blossoming flower, wafting fragrance. So understand the 2 points. Ahamkar predit ego-inspired karmas. Ego-inspired karmas means your attention, focus is on fruits of karma. How you do it, what type of project you have adopted, etc., that doesn't matter. Fruit, how to get the fruit. This project keeps you internally impoverished. All divine qualities, patience, endurance, humility, understanding, harmony, peace, goodness of the heart, all these move away and you become more and more successful in a material way. That should not be your goal, because that you are completely duped. So ahankara predit karmas versus ahamkar less karma. Ahamkar, ego diminishing, heart expanding. To such an extent that you are so enriched, and when people praise you, how much have you done to us? How much you have inspired us? How much charity you have performed? At that time, your head bends down in shame. From ego's point of view, this is not ego's attainment. You have allowed God within you to shine forth. And it is this setting of allowing the ego to bend down and God to shine forth that is the real success in life. Put it again another way. Idea of giving up action should not be entertained in the mind. Adopting the type of action that suits your nature, Swadharma. While doing your duty, have two-aspected choice. Doing your duty and expecting a fruit of your project according to your own expectation. Sakamya karma. You are better off this way and yet not ideal. If you adopt that this way, then there is a room for a higher development. There comes a time you suddenly begin to discover you are more successful in performing your duties when you are not focused on the result of your duty. And then you realize the result comes to you more than you can ever dream of. If you don't go on expecting. In other words, perform your actions for chitta shuddhi, purity of heart. Doing your duty just for the sake of duty. The duty is worship of God. Once that happens, chitta shuddhi, purity of heart develops. This does not stop you from having the result. But the result that comes is far beyond your expectations. In a practical world, you do succeed. Any project you have adopted with a profound, enriched character within you, that work will bring out a special type of glory about it. You will have a lot of success, lot of prosperity. All that does not contradict or restrict your Godward movement. But Godward movement is given the highlight. Another point. God incarnates every now and then, whenever dharma is in decline, etc. Incarnation of God has two aspects. a manifestation of a highly advanced soul, great sage, great personality, whom people begin to recognize the Avatara of God, whose influence is felt by countless people. And that influence is felt for a long, long time. The influence of Buddha, of Christ, Krishna, Rama, and so forth. And all saints and sages. That type of avatara the world expects. If you are doing sadhana, should you wait for an avatara? Go after astrologers. If there is some avatara somewhere, I will go there and travel there and come closer to an avatara. That would be a big delusion. Because even if you are born in the time when the avatara right next to your door, you may not recognize. What I'm leading you to understand, that avatara movement should occur within you. If you are changing from being a violent personality to a gentle personality, if hinsa within you has been replaced by ahimsa, if pride has been replaced by humility, avatara is coming. That sitting bird, quiet, is working miracle in your life. And you are having darshan of God. People have also very strange idea that in order to have spiritual experience, you have to have something unique. That also God provides. You see, nothing that you think of. God is like a divine mother. Acts up to according to the psychology of the children. Nevertheless, children have to grow up. So as you begin to grow up, your mind should not be focused on where should I go to have a dazzling view of God. Let it be in God's hands. But what should you do to keep your heart free of anger, hate? What should you do to allow love, understanding to flourish within you? At the moment you begin to succeed, you are starting to see the toes of God coming towards you. God's entry into you is like a spring entering into a forest. Everything, your personality begins to change. That's what is implied by whoever knows me thus. That one line, whoever knows me thus, is not bound by karma. Evam gvagyatva kritam karma purvairapin pumukshubhi kuru karmaiva tasmatvam purvait purvataram kritam. Thus knowing, wise seekers of liberation in ancient times and even before them performed karma. Therefore, you too should similarly perform your duty. Lord Krishna points out to parampara. Seems like a musical word, param. Tradition. The ancient sages, they gave their teachings to their disciples. Disciples in turn, they were one rung based on a big foundation. They became now the foundation and allowed another level to come in. The wisdom, path leading to enlightenment, that wisdom has been carried on from guru to disciple. From disciple becomes guru and to disciple. And each disciple uses his time, his age, his language to interpret the ancient teaching in a modern way. Though we still say snake on the rope, but we modify it by saying projections on the screen. Old wine in new bottles. Divine wisdom is ancient spirit. And you go on putting it in a new bottle, in a new plan of instructions, a new structure of wisdom. Keeping this in view, Krishna says to Arjuna, therefore, you too must come into that parampara. What you are learning from me, go on teaching them. Act out what you are learning. You too should perform your duty. Karmano hyapi bodhavyam cha vikarmana. Akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. Even wise men are confused about what karma and akarma are. Karma is action, akarma inaction. These 2 points confuse people. You always hear about the karmas and all the terrible things one is led to due to karmas. And the simple answer comes into the mind, let's not go with the karma. Akarma, I am not doing anything. No karma. When you do that, it's a terrible situation. Because when you are busy doing karmas, your mind has a little more room. It is relaxed to a certain extent. When you don't do any karma, mind is under stress, twofold stress. There is a demand emanating from your soul for action. You are holding back. And your sluggish mind, the mind now has become stagnant, it's not flowing. It has started creating strange fishes and frogs, strange imaginations, fears, tamasic thought process. So what, though outwardly it appears a person, he is not working at all. He's calm, relaxed, he's just free of all botheration. But that's just superficial. One who is trying not to work is using up more strength. They give the example of a rider who is riding a horse. When you are riding the horse and your horse is moving and you are enjoying the ride, things are fine. But now comes a time he develops the idea that I should not race at all. Now he has the problem, keeping the horse that wants to rush, but he has to constantly go on controlling its nose. And while controlling it, he has to control also his ideas, his thoughts. An outside view, oh, that man is resting under a tree on the quiet horse. But that's not correct. In the same way, when you develop the idea, I will not involve any karma. Now you have holding back to your energy. There are threefold energies operating in people. Kriya Shakti, you want to be active, your hands want to work, feet want to work, even for health reasons. Then there is Ichha Shakti, your desires want to be active, to move towards certain fulfillment. And Jnana Shakti, you want to understand. Your intellect is urging you not to stay in a dark, in a state of ignorance, urging you to know, urging you to discover. All this, you are stopping it. In the name, I'm moving away from karmas. Liberation. That's an error. Another error, this quiet meditation, seeking stillness within, who knows that has any validity. Be practical, pragmatic. Go on working. Without any plan, without any insight, by hook or by crook. Achieve your goal. Stay active. So do two types of teaching. One teaching is stop all work. Liberation is your goal. Statement is correct, but the way it is being projected, that's not correct. And then another, stay busy. Don't be lazy like those sannyasis. Both are erroneous views of progress. Therefore, you should know what karma is. You should know what akarma is. Action, inaction. Third thing Krishna brings out, you should know what vikarma is. Vikarma is a specialized attitude behind action. Akarma is like oil. Karma is like a wick, using the old lamp illustration. Akarma is oil, and karma is the wick. Vikarma is the light. Vikarma is a special attitude, a special way of looking at your action. In other words, while doing your duty, if your mind is focused on developing divine qualities, such as controlling the senses, allowing the senses to be guided by your intellect, not just running wild, developing detachment, detached from the lesser, attached to the higher, developing endurance, faith, practice of meditation, devotion, developing clarity of understanding, vivek. If these become a part of your attainment in daily life, they are not upsetting your duties. If you are a business person, you continue doing that. You go to an office, you continue doing that. These are only enriching you in your internal. You become a better lawyer, a better judge, a better husband, better wife, or whatever. And that's called vikarma. Add vikarma to your karma. End result will be absolute negation of all karma. So the real goal is to become free of all karma. And in order to attain that goal, follow the algebraical formula. Karma plus vikarma equals to akarma. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is wise among men, He is a yogi, and therefore he has performed all that is to be performed. All karmas are fulfilled, as if you have performed all that is to be performed, if you have attained enlightenment. And with this I will conclude. Om Shanti.